Hey guys, if you're struggling on what heat press to invest in for your business, well, the content you're about to watch is going to help with that question. We did this live Heat Press for Profit virtual event for a couple days in January of 2021, and there were a ton of questions about which press should I buy, what's the difference between this press and that press, and which one will work best for my business. Well, John, Jenna, and myself decided to put on a special session with a Q&A where we show our most popular presses and take questions from decorators like you to help you make the right investment. We hope you learned something, and we hope that this gets you closer to the right press for your business.
Hey everybody, it's Josh Ellsworth, Jenna Sackett, John Laux, and Vicky Nardini, and we are here for a bonus session. How awesome is that? By popular demand, we've put this extra session together, which is going to last an hour, and we have nearly the complete lineup of heat presses in front of you, and this is the ultimate heat press comparison. As always, it's live, and this is our after-hours session right at noon Eastern time, but whatever. Anyways, we're live. You guys can chat in your questions. First, let's kind of walk through exactly what we'll be presenting in the order. Jenna will be doing the A to Z press that she has in her home studio. You just recently set up that particular home studio, right, Jenna?
Yes, just recently. So it's been fun.
All right, awesome. So you'll be able to talk to us a little bit about that experience with the A to Z and the space that it's in. It looks like it's a pretty small space that it takes, which is cool to see. After that, we'll outline the basics of what to look for in a heat press, give you a full demo of the A to Z heat press and why that meets the criteria for a great startup machine. Then we're going to show you what you get by upgrading to either a hotronix auto clam press, which I have beside me, or a hotronix fusion, which John has out in sunny California. So we will show you the difference between like those two machines, which we group together in the better category as an upgrade over the A to Z. And then we will compare those two machines against each other. If those are within your budget, they're pretty close in price. So we'll compare why you would want to get the auto clam or the fusion and which one's right for you and your particular business. After that, by popular demand, we will be demoing my favorite press, Lean Back. It's the Hotronix Air Fusion, and it's a tabletop model. You can get it on a stand as well, but I'll go through the details of the Air Fusion and how that's such an upgrade over any of the other presses that we've talked about so far. And then lastly, time permitting, I don't have it plugged in, but I'll at least give you a little sneak peek of the Cadillac, the Mac Daddy, the Dual Air Fusion, and we'll talk about why you would want to justify that investment if you are growing in your heat printing business and when that makes sense and why it makes sense to you. So hopefully that sounds like a fun outline. This is designed for people that are looking to, little fat Joe there, Freddie on the Lean Back. This is designed for people that are thinking about a heat press and that investment. So it's going to be very buying focused and outlining features, getting down to those details on helping you arrive at the best possible decision for your business. Okay, so without further ado, heat printing has the holy trinity of time, temperature, and pressure. And with that in mind, we're going to walk you through how the A to Z meets the mark. So over to you, Jenna.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. So A to Z, super excited to get this in here. It was a step up from the small 9x12 that I was using. So it has 15 by 15 dimensions. And as you can see, the heating element does swing away. So I do have a nice heat-free layout. I love the size of this press specifically because I am working in a small area, but I'm still able to print larger t-shirts and also small items as well. So there really isn't too much limitation for me here, especially because I have heat press accessories that allow me to print those items. As Josh mentioned, time, temperature, and pressure is the key thing when looking for a heat press, and the A to Z does offer that. As you can see from this screen here, it's giving me my temperature readouts, and I have the ability to adjust these. So by clicking the mode button, that gives me my temperature readout. I can adjust this by clicking the plus and minus buttons that are right there on the screen. And then I also can adjust my temperature or my time by selecting that mode button once more and adjusting with those plus and minus buttons. So very user friendly, does give me that readout very important that it gives me that readout, because that is the recipe that I need to be able to apply my transfers accurately. In addition to that, we are ensuring that the heating element is reading out that exact temperature that is being shown on the screen. So our heating element has the accurate coils woven throughout that upper heating element that's going to ensure we have heat across that entire platen to ensure that it's getting the right temperature across the board. No cold spots, which is something that you can experience with some of the China presses out there in the industry. So do keep that in mind whenever you are researching your heat presses, what that heating element offers as far as how those coils are woven throughout that, and also the thickness of that upper heating element as well. Whenever you are working with a thin steel or metal there for that heating element, it can warp, but this has the right thickness that isn't going to allow that to happen. So you ensure that you're getting a nice flat pressure every single time. And then that brings us to pressure. So we covered time, we covered temperature, and pressure is key as well. So this does have a balancing or a pressure balancing mechanism in it. And that just means that whenever I lock this down, there is a self-balancing pressure mechanism underneath there that ensures that I'm getting a nice pressure across the board. In addition to having accurate pressure, it also comes to how that item is being loaded onto the platen. So although this does not have full threadability, it does have partial threadability, which means that the post that has this bottom platen is keeping this across the board on here so that I can get an even pressure, but I have the ability to thread from the back and the front. And I'm going to show you what that looks like now so that you can see. One thing that a lot of heat printers didn't like from some of the other presses on the market that have partial threadability is that they could only thread upside down. What the A to Z offers is, with that post being in the middle, is being able to actually swing that heating element out of the way and thread from the back side as well. So now whenever I'm placing my transfer, I know I'm working with just one single layer here, isolating my print area, and now I can place the transfer upright, get a better idea of where my placement's at, if I'm center, if it's in that desired print area that I want it to be, and just have a better overview overall. So that's one of the key things that I love about the A to Z is that free layout. I'm not worried about working underneath the heat. It's the perfect size that I need. And to take it a step further, whenever we can get back into doing events and printing on-site at events, you have the ability to actually take this one with you because it's small enough, it's portable, it's only 62 pounds. I carried this thing up 13 flights of steps myself just to get it up here. So it's easy to be taken to and from different locations if you can print on site.
Time out, Jenna. 13
Okay.
steps or 13 flights of steps? What floor
Oh,
are you
13
on?
steps,
Okay,
not flights, sorry. But yeah, really great press. I love it, especially for a small space. And it was an upgrade for me because I was working with that 9x12 pink craft press. So I'm able to do a lot more with this. And it goes beyond just printing t-shirts. On a lot of the other sessions, people were asking if they could print small onesies and things like that. And honestly, you can. It's just being able to work with different accessories at this point until we get to adding on additional interchangeable platens with this press.
Cool. Yeah. So time, accurate, temperature, accurate, pressure, accurate, but not a digital readout. So that's going to be one of the key differences that we'll get to. Do you want to show just where the pressure knob is? I can't remember if you were able to show how that adjusted.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the pressure knob is back here, and it's the same as all the other heat presses from Hotronix. Just righty tighty, lefty loosey. You just adjust that knob and then lock it in place.
Perfect. And go ahead and lock that down, because I know I had a conversation earlier actually with somebody that's watching on the difficulty to lock down. What pressure would you say you're at there?
I'd say medium to firm.
Okay. And go to the firmest pressure you can get on the thing. So this is a tip, guys. Whoever's going to buy the A to Z, if you turn it all the way to the right till it won't turn anymore, and then just bring it back one complete revolution back to counterclockwise. Yep. That will be your heavy pressure. Now lock it down. That's easy. Yeah. And so that's one of the things I've heard from people that have bought this press is we follow up with them and see how they like it. They love how easy this machine is to lock down, how portable it is. And the fact that you, like Jenna said, you do have the ability to see like right over your item, which is great for a newbie to be able to line stuff up without being under the heat. So overall, the A to Z is a great press. Now, I know that some people are having a hard time finding event specials, but we spent a lot of time putting together special packages on the machines that we're showing you to make sure you can get all the accessories that we think you need, as well as the discount. Vicki, do you have it? You want to share your screen, or do you want me to share mine?
If you have it up, you can share it.
Okay, so I'll share it with you real quick. This is the package that we have going on the A to Z press. All right, guys. To get to this, if you're in the desktop mode or whatever, you just go up to Event Specials and click on this. Okay, just click on Event Specials in the top of your screen, and all I'm doing is scrolling down past Vicki's video where she outlines what we have going on, and you can see that we have the A to Z 15 by 15 inch press. That's the size of the top and bottom platen. It includes the 6 by 10 inch platen in the package, and the cover for that. It also includes the cover that goes over the 15 by 15 that makes it a little easier to kind of semi-thread that garment on from front to back. It includes a pack of craft paper, and then free shipping. So at $800, I think that's a great price because you're going to want those accessories. I mean, Jenna, what are some of the things that you've used the 6 by 10 attachment on before in heat press jobs?
I do a lot of like left chest logos with that. I'll do children's onesies. I'll isolate pockets of bags. So like this would be a really good example, this canvas bag that has this front little pocket here that allows me to just be able to thread that on and isolate that print area, get those thick seams out of the way so that I can press something like this. So there's a lot of different accessories going beyond t-shirts, beanies, anything you can get flat on there, basically.
Yeah, and the what are some of the more interesting things you've done, John, on a 6 by 10?
Really the pockets of bags and stuff, because you can really slide it in. Like she said, we've done some onesies here as samples, a sash, little areas of the sash, and some back of the yokes on that 6 by 10.
Good. And then also, I think I remember, did you do a video of doing an umbrella, like between the prongs on that 6 by 10?
Yep, that was some time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. As long as you have space to put the stem of the umbrella underneath the table and you're not superstitious, you can do all sorts of unique shapes on that 6 by 10 platen. So I think it's a must-have, honestly, accessory. And as Jenna showed, adding heat press pillows to your deal is going to help. What you'll notice about the A to Z that you can't do is a long sleeve or a pant leg. And so thinking about if you want to add some accessories like pillows to any of your presses that you can't do sleeve and legs, these come in different shapes and different packs. And if you call in to the team that's listed there on that event specials page, they can help you add anything to those packages that you would want. All right, cool. So let's see if there's any questions on the A to Z before we move on.
One person would like to see how easy it is to change the platens.
Okay, so do you want to show us how you take that platen off, Jenna?
Sure, why not? There's a little knob under here. It's kind of tight to where, if I can get under there. Let's see. All right, so the knob, we're just going to loosen that knob underneath where the footprint of the press is until it's loose.
Yeah, so it's actually, while she's doing that, it's the same exact knob structure that's on the pressure adjustment. We use the same knob in several places on the machine. So you just turn that completely lefty-loosey until it falls out of that bottom platen, and then you'll be able to just lift that platen off. You want to show them how the platen lifts off? Make sure it's not Yep, so that's the knob.
Yeah, so this is the knob that comes out. And then once that comes out, you just lift the platen up and then drop it back in place. That's how the 6x10 will drop in there. And then this will just go up.
Hold that up again for a second, because this is,
place.
can you hold that the back of the platen up again for a second?
Yes.
Look at that, guys. That's also the same element we use in the top of the heater. And so that's the micro wound coil Jenna was talking about that gives you even temperature on any of the machines we're talking about and gives you the accuracy. So that's kind of a under the hood look at that. But very quick, very easy to change that platen. The only limitation is that right now we just do the 15 by 15 inch and the 6 by 10 inch platen, and you'll have to supplement that with pillows if you want to do any other shapes. But usually you can do most things with that. Okay, so we can see what Jenna is doing when correct. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so it must be, if you guys are, I'm seeing it where there's 4 pictures on the screen at all times, but if it's just defaulting to whoever's talking, I'll quit talking while Jenna is, so you guys don't see me and not the press. Is there any way to change that view? Vicky, do we have that power or no?
No, I don't think so.
Something for next time. Okay. Go ahead and show the bottom of the platen one more time, Jenna, so I was talking.
All right, so this is the bottom of the platen like Josh was talking about. As he mentioned, you can see exactly how those coils are woven. This is the inside of what the upper heating element looks like. Not to be confused, this isn't a bottom heated platen or anything. This is just showing the inside of what that upper heating element looks like. So those coils are woven evenly across that upper heating element. This is just kind of showing you what that maps out like.
Thank you. That was tough for me to stay quiet for 5 minutes, guys. I'm not good at that. All right. So we're going to go on the step up from here. And really, if you decide the A to Z's for you, I would say just make the buy if that's in your budget. Don't wait because it can be an accurate machine. You can get a return on it, and then you can always come back and add a second heat press. And we have a lot of customers that have 2 heat presses. But if you have a little bit more to spend in your budget, we're going to show you the auto clam and the fusion between John and myself. We're going to talk about the upgrades that you get by jumping into either of these 2 machines over the A to Z, and then we're going to compare the units. So first, most obvious upgrade is the 16 by 20 heater, assuming that's the size you buy in the auto clam, and that's what we would certainly recommend. And so having that larger print area is not only going to help you with being able to do larger graphics naturally, but it's also going to help you with when you load your shirt, you're able to see more of your shirt. And that helps you line up stuff just a little bit straighter. So definitely that 16 by 20 platen is one major difference. John, what other differences would you say in jumping into this category?
I would say you get into the interchangeable platens a little bit easier. So when you're stepping from one platen to the next, or you're trying to get that, it's not as difficult. Like Jenna had to really unwind that bottom bolt or screw. When you get into this category is where you start to get that easeability of interchangeable platens. So
good. And so just to show you how quick and easy that is on either of these machines, all there is a lever underneath of this machine, and you just unlock the lever, and then you grab the platen corner to corner. I'll stand in front of it so I can get it, and you slide it out, pulling it straight up. So it has a pin registration system, and you can see the lever here. It just drops right in, and you lock in the next size. The other thing that we can see at this angle, and you can kind of see it at John's angle too, once he talks in a minute, is this press, when it's put on its stand or a counter stand that we call a caddy or a caddy stand, it's in the package, it's completely threadable, 100% threadable. So on the A to Z, there's a post in the center, so it kind of blocks you a little bit from 100% threadability. But on this machine, I can split my garment and I can thread it completely on. And that's particularly beneficial when you're getting into some odd shaped sizes and youth sizes. It's just going to allow you to print more items. So you want to show that threadability on your machine, John?
Yeah, so this is a swing away as well as a draw, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a second. But if I pop my platen off and we look at it, this one is a little bit different from Josh's, where it has the full gooseneck in the threadability. So the post that comes off, we're not dealing with the feet of the auto clam, but we're actually above the feet on the Fusion, giving it that ability to really get that full threadability all the way to the back with what I like to call the gooseneck. So it makes it a little bit easier because the smear is smaller. This one makes it a little bit easier too on your smaller platens because that base isn't so large.
Good. And the reason we recommend threading is because when you're doing an item like a hoodie, something like this, and let's say you want to print the back of this hoodie, well, just to lay it on top of the press and try to print the back, you're going to be dealing with a bunch of layers of fabric and actually seams from the pocket that are wanting to come up through this side. And that's going to mess with your pressure so it can't get even. And it's also going to potentially leave a scorch mark because that raised area gets more pressure. And so the proper way to decorate the back of this hoodie would be to split your item open. On any of these presses, you can do this, and completely thread it onto the machine. And so we have one single layer of fabric that we're working with, and all the bulk is hanging underneath. So this cantilever design and this threadability function, like, it is absolutely critical to being able to print more accurately and to be able to print more items in your business. Okay, so just to walk through some of the differences, and then I'm going to come to you, Vicki, for a question. So far we know we go up to the 16 by 20 inch size. We jump up to quicker interchangeable platens. We added 100% threadability versus semi-threadable. And then there's two other big things I want to mention, probably more, but I'll just stick with two. The next one is measured digital pressure. So can you show the control board on your machine, John, up close?
Yeah, let's see if we can get a good look at it. We struggled a little bit with this yesterday. Let me trade camera views.
If not, I can unplug my Air Fusion and plug this one in, but oh, that's perfect.
Can you see it good?
Yeah.
Yep, so on this unit here, we have the digital pressure, we have the digital temperature, and the digital time. This one is a little bit different from the auto clam, and I'm sure Josh is going to show you, but this one has all your presets right in the machine. So there's no going to and trying to figure out what the difference is between applying glitter flake to premium plus to soft foam. They're all pre-programmed into this unit.
Perfect. And so when you lock that down, it's reading a 0 pressure now. We can't lock it down because it's swung away to get this camera angle. But when you would lock it down, that would read a number based on the pressure on the machine. And so this machine does the same thing, except it doesn't have the touchscreen display. The AutoClam doesn't. It has this digital display up top, and it displays a little pressure number in the bottom right when you lock it down. Again, both of these machines, both the Fusion and the AutoClam, have a pressure adjustment knob, so you're still manually adjusting the pressure. It's just after you adjust it and lock it down, it's giving you an indicator of what it actually is, a digital pressure display, instead of having to guess, is that feel like a light, a medium, or a heavy? So it's more accurate, it's more scientific in the process with a little less guesswork. So that's a big difference between, you know, like the A to Z machine and these hotronix series of machines. And then the last difference, like generally at a high level view, is the warranty. These hotronix machines are built very industrial. They are both 5-year. The entire hotronix line is a 5-year warranty on the major parts, whereas the A to Z is a 1-year. So I wouldn't call it a hobbyist machine on the A to Z, but I would call it more of a light use machine. And if you start to do a lot of heat pressing in your business, you'll probably find yourself investing into a 16 by 20 hotronix machine in the future. But honestly, I've sold tons of hotronix machines in my life, and some of those hotronix owners are buying A to Zs just to have something small and portable and simple to use that they can have as a second press for certain jobs. All right, so I feel like we need to, there's some questions coming in. Any questions right now that we need to take, Vicki?
So one would be, this is an easier one. What is a better solution for pressing legs and sleeves, the 5x18 pillow or the double leg sleeve platen?
So this is where I'll kind of use this to kind of catapult into our comparison of the Auto Clam and the Fusion. John already started to allude to the fact that the Fusion has a very narrow throat. And that's the whole Fusion family, from the Fusion to the Air Fusion to the Dual Air Fusion that we'll get to shortly. Whereas the Auto Clam has a very, I'm going to lift that up again, you know, a wider positioning under here. So you can't get something that's narrow like a sleeve and load our standard sleeve and leg platen and be able to print it here. I'll show you that. Actually, let me just load a sleeve and leg platen because it's best to see these things. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me grab it here. So here's our standard leg and sleeve platen. It's 6 inches by 20 inches. Is that right, guys?
That's correct.
Okay. So you load that on, lock it into place, and then I'll take the sleeve of this hoodie and I'll try to split it on. Now, given this is it's a large adult hoodie, so it's pretty big, pretty wide opening, but I can't get it on there. It's catching under here through the neck hole. There's just not a way to get that onto there. And so your question is really good. Do you have this leg and sleeve platen, John?
Unfortunately, I don't have the leg and sleeve platen, but we can kind of see the difference where Josh's front legs are completely out, this far, where this one is set back a lot more. So you can really sleeve it over the top of that, getting that top or the bottom of the leg all the way to the top.
And now I will show that on the Air Fusion here in a moment. I'll hold that platen out. But let's show you two different approaches to doing the leg and sleeve. Otherwise, it will answer the question. So I'm going over here and I'm grabbing my super heavy double leg and sleeve platen. This thing's a beast. So it's a little narrower print area. So I'll load it onto that press. And you can see the way this has been designed. I call it the Superman platen. It looks like Superman's arms out flying. There's two prongs here that come out to the side that basically avoid this area that was causing us trouble before. And so we've created this. Actually, this was the suggestion of Mark Schwarb. So I'll credit him for the invention of this from listening to customers. We've created this in such a way that you can split and now press that sleeve and get to that print area without concern. But it is quite a bit narrower as far as the print area. Do you guys know what this is offhand? It looks like maybe 4 inches by 16 inches roughly. Yeah, good enough. Okay. So it doesn't look like anybody knows the exact dimensions, but that would be a way, and you can do 2 sleeves at once, but it is a little narrower. Now, I mentioned I personally own the Auto Clam. I don't own this platen. I think it's a great innovation if you're going to do a lot of legs and sleeves, but I don't do enough to where I wanted to spend that much money on it. So all I did is I bought the leg and sleeve pillow. And so then what I do is I keep my 16 by 20 platen on. I take this leg and sleeve pillow. In the same way, I'm just going to use my kind of hand as a pilot through the sleeve to make it easier to load. And I just slide that into the sleeve just like this. And then that gets the seams underneath of the pillow. And I would just lay that flat on top of the 16 by 20 platen and press that way. So Jenna, do you want to talk briefly about the difference between pillows and pads so people know like what they could use this on?
Sure. So I don't have any pads here as an example, but picture a mouse pad and something silicone or rubberized like that, a little bit more dense. But the reason why we offer the pillows and pads is for those of you that may be working with a heat press that don't have interchangeable platens. You can utilize those pads to raise a certain print area. So if you're working with a button down shirt and you need to get those buttons out of the way, or maybe it's a quarter zip or a full zip, anything that has obstructions next to it where you need to get those out of the way in order to isolate that print area, what that pad is going to do is raise that area and allow you to print that. And what the pillow is going to allow you to do is get very close to those obstructions. So the pillow actually will let those buttons or zippers or anything that's in the way of causing an uneven pressure sink down into that pillow so that you can get your print location very close to that obstruction. So a pad is going to raise a print area and isolate that. And a pillow is going to help with thick seams and things like that, actually sink down into the pillow, but keep your print area raised.
Perfect. And I also want to add that you can't generate a firm pressure on a pillow, so you won't be able to use screen printed transfers on pillows. You'll have to use a pad for that. But either way is a solution. Yes, you can use that pillow on the A to Z press to do sleeves just the same. And if you buy the A to Z press, I would recommend you pick up at least the leg and sleeve pillow, maybe the whole pack. I think it's like $80 some for all of the sizes. And so you'll have that flexibility. So, but that was the big differences, like the narrower throat, I call it, of the Fusion series allows for, I think, more printing of legs and sleeves if that's your thing. Now, obviously, we want to talk about the obvious difference between the Auto Clam and the Fusion. First off, you can't go wrong either way. I'll start there. But the most obvious difference is how they operate. So, John, give us like the 4 steps to complete a print with the Fusion from like an arm motion standpoint.
Sure. So the Fusion does have 2 options. Number 1, it will swing away like we did to look at the front board. So we're able to get our heating element out of the blade, very much like that A to Z that Jenna showed. The other option on the Fusion is you have a draw. So we could draw this out. If we spin this back, and if you're limited on space, you could actually draw the press out and be able to load your garment here. Now the advantages to having that swing away heat, number 1, you're getting the heat completely out of the way. Number 2, it really gives you that surface area to look over the top of and to line your garments up, especially on that 16 by 20 full platen view. So, and then again, the machine tabletop version, it doesn't come on a pedestal. It's only a tabletop version. So those would be the benefits. And then if we load a shirt on while it's swung away, we are able to get that full threadability of the machine. And then if we were doing a front application, again, we're able to spin it around, pull it up a little bit, spin it around, and do a back very quickly on that threadable throat as well. Right?
Excellent. So what I like to say, and I didn't want to make any noise, so I didn't steal the camera, so I'll drop that back on now. What I like to say is that the Fusion is great because it's a swing away and you have a completely heat-free workspace. As John pointed out, you can see right over your item, and that's very comfortable generally. So a lot of people love that part about a swing away design, or if you're limited on space where you can't swing at the drawer design. Now, the Auto Clam is nice because it's a little bit more space saving. And I always say it's single step operation. Literally, all you have to do is reach for the handle and you lock the machine down. It has a magnetic assisted lockdown, and then the press does the work from there. It automatically opens. So it's only one step for your arm. Yes, you have to reach for the handle and lock it down, but that's the only step. And so if you're limited on space and you want to multitask a lot, that's a great piece of this investment is you can lock it down, you can work on something else, and it just opens. And I think at the end of the day, you'll be a little bit less exhausted than swinging away, swinging back, locking down, opening. But again, you need to judge that for yourself. Each one has its advantages when it comes to like the basic functionality of it. You can't avoid the fact that the heat is above you on a clamshell style press. But what we do get here that makes it better than most clamshell style presses that are on the market is that it does open pretty wide. And if you are loading upside down, you are doing what we call threading it on, which we've been talking about. All of my placement is typically up on the widest side of the machine. So it's not like you're reaching back in to lay out your graphic all the way back here. That's the bottom of the shirt where, you know, you're not really going to be having your fingers. And so you won't be burning yourself. Everything stays up to the front of the machine. So that's definitely something to consider. It makes it tolerable. Now, I did have a question. We have 2 questions. One is Jennifer would like to see you thread a shirt with the drawer pulled out, John, just to kind of talk through that functionality. And then also, I had a question earlier while you're getting ready to do that is it worth it to spend the extra $300 to go with the 16 by 20 Auto Clam versus the 16 by 16? And I would say without hesitation, yes, because larger is always better. And if you're looking at space taken up, the 16 by 16 and 16 by 20 actually take just about the same footprint on the actual counter. The only thing you get is 4 extra inches on the front of the machine coming out into your aisleway or your operation space. But the footprint of the machine, the stand, etc., counter stand. It's the exact same. The only difference is the platen on top coming out 4 inches in front and 4 inches on the bottom. So I feel confident that the 16 by 20 is the way to go. Go ahead, John.
All right, so threadability, if we pull the drawer out, it should still be on camera there, correct? And we take our shirt, and I'm at a little bit of an angle on this table, but we would thread it out here, line it up, and get the workspace there, push it back in, and then with the manual close, timer, manual open.
Yeah, so pretty easy. When you get to like super bulky items, you may just want to kind of support them on the side as you're bumping it in. I know a lot of people that kind of bump it in with their stomach or whatever as they're moving it in and supporting those bulkier items, but it's really not hard. You just want to make sure after you do all the layout, your item's not going to drag against the table as you're pushing it back in, but you'll get the hang of it. A lot of people, what do you see, John? You've been in a ton of shops. Are people operating it mostly as a drawer or mostly as a swing away?
It seems like the people in the home offices and those types of things are using it as a draw. People that have the space behind it use the swing more often. And I think it's only because people get a little bit worried as they're pushing it in. And like you said, that garment is hanging down. So they get worried about the movement and those types of things on it. So they'd rather swing it. But I think with the space saving on the draw, I really like the draw. Okay.
Good. And just to clarify, the question came in, the Fusion that we're looking at right there is a manual machine. It doesn't auto open. The Clam, however, does auto open. So if you have the Fusion locked down and you want to override it, you literally just open it up. You just open the handle. If the auto Clam's locked down, what I recommend doing, you probably seen me do it in videos, is you just give a swift little uppercut or a firm, quick jerk to break the seal, and you can always open the press up and override the auto open if you want to open it quicker. I never recommend reaching back and turning off the switch because you'll probably get uppercut by the machine as you're reaching back. So it's best to just use the handle to complete those tasks if you want to override it. One other major difference that I can think of on these machines is the control board. You went into it a bit, John, but just to reiterate, the Fusion has the touchscreen control board to be able to program all of the presets. The Auto Clam does not, which means you'll be entering your settings from an instruction sheet often. And just to clarify for the person that asked, every heat transfer comes with a recipe, time, temperature, and pressure. If the pressure calls for like a 7 or higher or heavy, I would recommend not using a pillow with that item. But any of your heat transfer vinyl or print cut vinyl are going to work perfect with a pillow. Basically, you just want to stay away from the pillow if you're using screen printed transfers. You want to use the print pad, or Transfer Express actually started selling a mouse pad that you can buy really cheap and cut up into sizes to do some applications. All right, did I miss anything on the comparison of those two? I guess price and show package, right? Do you think of anything else, John?
No, I think that's it. I think we got it all.
All right, we're going to look back for questions too, just to make sure we're not leaving anybody behind. Going pretty good on time. Let me share my
few that I have.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm pulling up the screen on price while you give those in.
Okay, so as far as presets, there were a couple of questions there. If their Fusion did not come with the presets, how can they get them? And then also, do we update the settings automatically when new materials come in?
So I will say that you need to manually punch in those presets at the moment if you've already bought your machine. If you have the Fusion IQ, it does connect to the cloud. And so we are working to increase our functionality there. So at some point, you'll be able to download settings by connecting with Wi-Fi. So the Fusion's really cool in that it works that way, but we don't have that functionality quite built out yet. So you would just add the settings right in the control board. Okay, so here are the packages. Before we take another question, there's the 16 by 20. So we've combined it with both platens that we recommended, the same 11 by 15 and 6 by 10 platen. We've done the counter stand, which fits right on any countertop. $100 product credit, and then the ground shipping. So it's $2,050 basically for that one decked out as we would recommend it. And then $2,500 for the Fusion IQ decked out as we would recommend it. Same platens. Obviously you don't need a stand, it comes built in, but everything else is the same about the package, except on this one, you do get the leg and sleeve platen. So that's a big added value in the Fusion package. That's the difference that you're seeing primarily in price. Now, I missed one feature that I do want to say. I can't believe I forgot about it. It almost feels like we're trying to sell against each other, John, on the Fusion and the auto clamp here. I don't know this is a healthy thing.
And it does. It really does. So when we talk about benefits, we're going both ways. I'm very, very fond of that, the auto release of that auto clamp. I mean, I really like it, hands down. But I also really like the threadability of the neck of this one and the way that the board actually is programmable. So where I'm not going and looking for those application recipes all the time. So, I mean, it's really up to a preference. If we're talking at this good or better category, so to speak, I mean, you really can't go wrong. And it's funny because I actually had them both here at one time, and I probably used the auto clamp just as much as I used the Fusion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, the big thing I forgot?
Hit me.
Power. I've got the power platens over here. All right. So this is going to be the deal clincher, guys. No, I love the Fusion too. Don't get me wrong. But one thing we do know is that power platens are those heated lower platens that you can attach to any of the Stahls machines except the A to Z and the Fusion currently. And we've heard your feedback. And so we will try to do something to make them compatible with the Fusion in the future. But basically, this heats your item from underneath. And so if you want to apply dimensional logos, you usually need to heat from underneath, and it also helps with getting rid of the scorch mark. Those are compatible with the auto clam. It's a separate additional purchase, but I would recommend if you add the power platens that you get the control board, plus you get the little 6x6 platen. I think the total of those is $595 for those two pieces. And that's going to allow you to do those dimensional logos easily. Now, of course, you're probably in between on these two machines, and hopefully we've been able to sway your decisions in a good way. The toughest part is we want to give a strong recommendation, but it really varies on the business on which one you should get. I bought the auto clamp for myself personally because I wanted to multitask. I really valued that auto open, and I didn't really care about laying stuff out under the heat. And I was going to use mostly vinyl, so I felt the sleeve and leg pillow would do the sleeves just fine for me. And that was even before the power platen thing came along. And so I've been very happy with it. I also am seeing the comments. We have people that advocate and love the Fusion. It's actually the more popular machine on unit sales overall because it's just so unique and so nice in what it does. But the culmination is what I'm going to get to next that you guys asked for by popular demand. It gives you the best of all worlds, quite literally, and that is the Air Fusion. So I know I'm not dumb to the fact that this is going to be out of some budgets that are starting up, but that you'll kind of see what you can aspire to get. But I also want to point out that this isn't necessarily just for professional printers. I have a lot of startups that will just start with the Air Fusion. So I'm going to show you the price first, which is against everything I believe in, but I just think it's better just to have it out front since we're kind of laying out this good, better, best philosophy. So, the A to Z was more or less $1,000 or less. The Fusion IQ and the auto clam 16x20s were around $2,000 to $2,500. And then this tabletop Air Fusion IQ that I'm going to show you is $4,450. And that includes the package that has the platens in it, et cetera. It has the hat bill platen in it, but you could always swap that out if you'd like to for the leg and sleeve platen. So without further ado, let me show you this machine. My favorite. So yes, it does require an air compressor. So you guys have been through a lot of the features. So number one, this is a 16 by 20 inch machine. The first thing you'll notice about this machine, sorry, try to get my thing to stop shaking, I'm on a cart here, is that there are no handles, okay? So if you look at the Fusion that John just showed you, there were two handles. There was a handle to lock it down, which is the same handle to open it, and there was a handle here that would swing the machine away and swing it back. And so what you get by jumping into this Air Fusion is you get automation and ease of use and less wear and tear on your body or whoever's operating the press. And so at its very most simple thing, the way to close the press would normally be a handle on those other machines. This just has two blue buttons up in front. You can see a lid up there. You have to have both fingers on the buttons and press them together. and the machine locks down and engages, and then you remove your hands. Okay. Now this machine has the same touchscreen control as the Fusion. It's going to count down all the way to 0, and there's no handle to swing it away because the machine automatically opens and it automatically swings away for you without you having to touch anything, right? And so you have this completely work-free surface that you can load. It has all of the same benefits of the Fusion with the narrow throat underneath for easy threadability, to be able to use the leg and sleeve platen on this small surface. Let me show you that here. That platen's pretty hot because that press has been resting over it. But I will load the leg and sleeve platen here, lock that into place, and then show you on that same hoodie we've been using how easy it is to load this one because of that leg and sleeve platen. So you see, that quick and that easy. So we always say, this is our most efficient machine because you can load everything. It doesn't have a drawer, which means I can use the power platens, and it's fully automatic. So no handle to get it to return. All you're going to do is click the foot pedal, which is down beside me, and the machine returns back over center. And so you're ready to hit the buttons and complete your next application. So naturally, you're not reaching for handles. It's going to cut down on wear and tear. But the other thing that I want to really point out to you is most machines that you're using are going to potentially be tough on your back. You know, there's like a balance to operating height, and most people, you're either going to be reaching for the handle or you're going to be bending over to load your garment on the press. I prefer not to bend over to load my garment. I'd rather reach for the handle because I personally don't have shoulder problems or anything like that, but I do have back problems. And so I'll operate my clamshell press, my auto clam, a little bit higher so I can stand straight up the load. Now this machine has the best of both worlds because there's no handle to reach for. Because those handles are right here, even on the Fusion, it's behind the machine. I actually operate this machine at chest height. Seems super high, but you can stand straight up, you can load, you can lay out without being bent over operating the machine. So the ergonomics of this machine and the ease of use is what's really going to sell it to most people, even a startup. You can use absolutely every platen with this machine, including the power platens. It has the most narrow throat, and it's fully automatic. Now, I want to show you one other important thing on the control board that differs between this machine and the normal Fusion. So I know it's pretty tough to see, but basically you'll also see no knobs on this machine. So not only are there no handles, there are no knobs. So the over center pressure knob or the knob in the back of the machine to adjust the pressure, you don't need that on this machine because we have it hooked up to an air compressor, which is required, and all the pressure is through this touchscreen control board. And it's read in PSI. That's pounds per square inch. So if I touch on the 49 PSI, even if you can't see it, I can adjust it. And just like that, I'm at 76 PSI. I hit the check mark. It accepts the setting. Next time I lock down the machine, guess what? I've just changed my pressure by 3 digits. And that pressure, that 75 PSI, automatically adjusts for the thickness of your item you have loaded and the thickness of your platen. Basically, that means there's no more adjustments of the pressure knob back and forth. If you want to press a hoodie versus a thin t-shirt versus a mouse pad versus a plaque with sublimation, you don't have to worry about that. You just set the pressure in the control board and it locks it down. Again, the touchscreen control board, you can save all the settings. Actually, you can have multiple time settings within one setting. It's just phenomenal. You can turn these Fusions on to come on in the morning, to turn off at night, connects to the cloud, measures all the production analytics. You want to talk about the best machine in the market. That's what I said. It's the best. It is the absolute best. You can't go wrong with this type of investment, assuming you can, generate the sales. So I want to also point out that you want to make sure you have space behind this machine because it swings completely away. You can see I have it out from the wall. So that is a consideration. Since it doesn't draw, you need to have the space around it. And you also need to have it connected to an air compressor, okay? And air compressors, they vary as far as how much noise they make. You haven't heard it on this video. Why? Because I run a really long air hose from the machine, and I have the air compressor sitting in a closet over here with the door closed. And so there are creative ways on positioning your air compressor out of the room or behind some walls in another room in your house, so it's not making so much noise while you're operating. Or you could invest in a really nice air compressor with a large holding tank, so it's not kicking on so much. So
Hey,
what do you think?
Josh,
Yeah.
one of the huge questions is, tabletop or pedestal, advantages, disadvantages. I mean, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and you know what? I talked to Vicky about this. I think it was before our last trade show, Long Beach 2020. We were talking about that on which ones to display at the show, and I felt pretty passionate about the tabletop, even though it's like $300 or $400 less. And the reason why is what I'm finding is a lot of people that already have a heat press of Fusion, they're wanting to upgrade to an Air Fusion now to make it a little bit easier on them and have all the perks. And so that can fit in the same exact spot that your Fusion fits in today. It doesn't take up any less space as long as you allow the space for the swing away. So I love the tabletop. And also the reason I went from my caddy stand to a counter caddy in my home office is just so I could have that table space directly beside the machine. I'm always wanting table space, and with a countertop machine, you can have the space, under your machine, right beside your machine. Everything is right there. And I personally really value that for my work area. And it also, if I needed it, and I won't ever do this personally, but for a beginner, it makes it a little easier to grab a laser alignment system and position it beside the machine if you need help with lining stuff up with the tabletop unit. What do you think, John?
I have to agree with you 100%. Having the tabletop next to the machine to do your application or to lay it all out, have your stuff right there is key. And the great thing is, you talked about upgrades. When you're going from a Fusion to that Air Fusion, it's on that caddy or scissor table, which is fantastic. You can replace one with the other or move it around. So
yeah, and I do have it on the scissor cart, which is a optional cart that we sell that can raise up and down. Can't remember if that's in the package. It may be. I'll show you here in a second. But I did get a question that came in that I happened to glance down and see. And I'll tell you a funny story. So I was once working a trade show. Every once in a while at a trade show, they make me wear ties. So I had a necktie on, and I locked that tie down in the Fusion as I was demoing it, right? Or maybe you noticed something, but this was an actual real life story. I locked my tie down in the Fusion, and I'm kind of like stuck here, right? I'm tethered to the machine at that point. And so to answer your question, yes, if the machine is locked down, this one's on for 15 seconds, I can always hit this red emergency button that says stop and shut the whole thing down. All right, the press opens. The press won't work now until I hit that red button again. So it's just a great emergency release to answer your question, Chrissy. And I was unharmed from that incident, and my tie was fine too. It was just a little less wrinkled. All right, what other questions we see in Vicky? We got about 8 minutes left here.
Okay. I have first, there have been quite a few questions about the power platens. Why really is it not compatible with the Fusion, and when would you use them?
So the reason the power platens aren't compatible with the Fusion is because the drawer mechanism, and the power platens actually plug in with a cable. And so whenever you pull that drawer out, that cable would still be attached and you would have issues there. It's like a safety hazard. We couldn't get the machine certified with those power platens, and all of our machines are UL and CE certified. And so that's really important to keep you guys safe in your operation. And the power platens are for printing dimensional logos. Basically, it's a heated lower platen that prints dimensional logos to be able to heat and get to the adhesive quicker and to make sure they're durable. And they're also used to help get rid of scorch marks on heat sensitive garments by heating from the inside.
Can you use them with the A to Z?
No, not at this time. I will say, however, I think it'd be kind of crazy to add them to the A to Z. They're almost as much as the machine when you add them. It's $600. So I would, I'm not sure if we'll ever make them compatible with the A to Z. I would probably just recommend if you need heated lower attachments on a small print surface, just buy the 360 IQ hat press. It's going to not only allow you to do left chest logos and small dimensional badges, but also hats as well. I need to show the show package on the air fusion, and then I promised everybody a peek at the dual air fusion. So let me hit that while you're grabbing the next question. Go ahead and ask it. I'll just leave the, this is the air fusion package again on the screen, and I'm going to go down to the dual air fusion package.
Where would you put the power platen on the Air Fusion IQ?
Where would you put it? It has a magnet, and so I would just sit it down and it would actually magnet to the cart if you have the cart. Otherwise, it has rubber feet and would just sit beside the table. For the control board, I would just sit it like to the back of the machine as far as I can, so the cable will still reach to plug in the platens. So there are the packages. I'm gonna pull this off the screen so we can see you guys. But again, you can go to event specials and scroll down and see all of these, and certainly schedule a meeting with John or with Jenna to take advantage of these, or any of our other experts. Unfortunately, I'm booked up for the rest of the day with meetings. Okay. So dual air fusion, just a quick peek. Not gonna, again, I don't have it plugged in because I only have one air compressor. Remove that dual leg and sleeve platen that I was using. And basically it has all of the features and functionality of the single head air machine. It just has 2 stations. In your business, one of the top ways to increase profit and turn out jobs quicker is by reducing downtime. And this machine is built to reduce downtime. In a nutshell, that's what it does. So basically, when the machine's locked down at the left station for 15 seconds, you or the operator is loading the right station and placing your graphics, so you're not just waiting around while your heat press is down. How can you load it so quick in that amount of time? Well, it comes built in with the laser alignment tools at each station to make for quick and easy layout. Has all the advantages that I showed you on the air fusion, from the control board and the functionality and the small base for the sleeve and leg platen and the power platens. You simply get 2 stations in this design. It's really not that big. It operates within its own footprint. And so it's very easy to operate. And on this one, you can butt it right back against the wall, and it actually takes about the same usable space as a single head air fusion, and also fits on the equipment cart. The cart's just sideways to be able to load it on there. So that's the dual air fusion. We actually sell a ton of those, because not just for big businesses, small businesses, single entrepreneurs, they want to print jobs quicker, get them out the door so they can work on other things. Paul, I'm sorry, I can't do the laser system because I don't have it plugged in on this particular one, but we will find a good video that shows it, and make sure we paste it into the comments for you. All right. I'm tight at 1 o'clock personally, but that doesn't mean that Jenna and John shouldn't stay on and answer questions. I know we can run this 10 minutes extra. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it to them. And I want to thank you guys for attending again. And you're in good hands with Jenna, John, and Vicky. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Is there any more questions, Vicky, that we can cover?
Yes. So I have an old model of the Hotronix auto clam that does not have the interchangeable platens. Do you recycle the old models? I would also touch on, John, what year, how far back the current interchangeable platens are available, especially with the power platen.
That's a great question. I don't know when we changed it over. Was it 2010, Jenna, that we went from is that correct? Yeah.
About that time, yeah.
Yeah, so you can still use the interchangeable platens on that clam. They just have 2 bolts that go into the bottom that you have to unscrew and place it on. So we can, if you do order an interchangeable platen, you can order that platen and just give them that serial number, and they'll send you the right setup to use that. Did we cover that, Vicky?
Yes. Also, how long can you leave the machine on while you're getting your materials together?
So the machines normally take about 15 minutes to heat up. Once they've heated up, I mean, they stay on. Now, they do have the functionality of, if they're unused for quite some time, they will power down at this point, especially the fusion, the air fusion. I think it's set for 30 minutes, but you can change that and up that time or lower that time. The auto clam itself doesn't, I believe, have that auto off, and I'm not sure about the A to Z.
They both do.
They both do. Okay.
Turn off by themselves after a while of just sitting there. I want to say it takes about 45 minutes or so for it to just idle before it does turn off, though.
Yeah, so it's definitely like, you know, you leave it running like your curling iron, and everybody worries about burning the building down because you left your curling iron on, right? So not the case here. It does shut off over time. But the minute you pull it down or activate the handle or the timer, it resets that overall time and allows it to stay on. So.
We did get some motherboard questions about replacing, and then also the touch screen.
All right, I would say if you're having any problems or motherboards or replacement or anything like that, I would definitely call the hotronix Blue Ribbon support. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So definitely reach out to them and get the support you needed. They can send you the parts, or if it's under warranty, make sure it gets fixed accordingly. So.
One thing I love about the Fusion IQ is that Wi-Fi connectivity, because if there's ever like a time where you don't know what's wrong with the machine, if something's happening, a rep at Hotronix can actually remote access into that if you have it connected to Wi-Fi and troubleshoot it for you.
Do we recycle old machines?
Currently, no. So if you've got something and you're looking to upgrade, I would definitely get it up for sale. They turn fast. Everybody believes in the Hotronix and the brand name, so you'll have no problem turning that over to upgrade.
I think we covered everything.
All right. Perfect. Well, thanks for coming. We do appreciate it. Hopefully we've narrowed some of those questions down to allow you to make a great decision on your heat press purchase, whether it fits in that good, better, best category that Josh talked about. So for me, California, I appreciate it. Thank you. Jenna, Vicky, you know, thanks for coming, and make sure you check out those show specials. Again, we're here for any appointments. I'm pretty much free for the rest of the day. I'm sure Jenna's got some time on her calendar. Vicky's got some time on her calendar. So check out those show specials, and don't forget to go back and watch some of the content that you missed. There's so many grateful hits and tips and tricks out there. Make sure you get back, and that's going to be on for a little while longer, so make sure you check it out. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.